Hello, my name is Paul Arman-Odian. I'm a licensed massage therapist, and today I'm actually going to speak to you about anxiety. Someone might ask, well, what would I as a massage therapist have to say about anxiety? And one of my friends who's a life coach said to tell people that I had been through the school of hard knocks. At age 6, while hemorrhaging in a hospital, I had my first of what you would call a shamanic dream, what they would call a shamanic dream. At age 15, I had head injury, massive head injury, went through the tunnel, the light. Next morning, angels talking to me, a 15-year-old boy, okay? Within a month or so, I started having clairvoyant dreams. Back at that time, there was no word for near-death experience, nor was there any word for clairvoyant dreams or clairvoyant experiences of any kind or anything out of this three-dimensional reality. I was a 15-year-old boy. And so I can tell you that my life has been nothing short of extraordinary. I've had a lot of experiences that have deepened my experience of life and as well sensitized me to the human condition through my own life experiences. When I was 4 years old, I befriended my neighbor Rose, who was blind, and from age 4 to 19 maintained a beautiful relationship with her. I was reading Braille when I was 4, and this also as well brought me into a high level of sensitivity that has helped me through my life, especially in my work. As I say, I've been to the edge where life and death dance together. I was held by a thread and a glimmer of hope that grew and then became my destiny. And it is from this experience that I'd like to share my viewpoint on anxiety and perhaps give you a different perspective on it. And storytelling is beautiful, and the beauty of a storyteller is that they share a story, and that story brings you back to you, within you, and opens doors and possibilities that would have possibly been closed otherwise. And so I'm going to tell you a story about anxiety, and through this story, I think a lot will be understood. One day, a woman came to my practice. She wasn't a regular client. Maybe every 8 months or 9 months she'd come in to see me. Marathon runner, healthy person in her 50s, happy marriage, happy, everything seemed good, community-oriented, all that. She comes into my office and she did not look herself. And I said to her, how are you doing? I asked her, how are you doing? And she said, oh, I'm okay. And I said, she said, well, I'm going through some things lately. And then I said, well, what kind of things, like anxiety things? And she said, well, if there's anyone in this town I can talk to about this, it's you, so I might as well just tell you. I said, yes, spit it out. And at the same time, I'm thinking, oh, great. She said she was standing at her job. She's an administrator. She was an administrator, and she was standing there, and a bright light came up through her body. And she turned white as a ghost, heart rate, pulse, everything, through the roof, blood pressure. They took her to the emergency room at the hospital close by. Turns out there's nothing wrong. So I said to her, I'll bet anything that everyone is overly concerned about you, checking in on you. How are you doing? You okay? And she said, yeah, everyone is really like... I said, that's because you went to a place that scares the hell out of people. The greatest fear the human has is losing a grip on reality. Where am I? Who am I? That's the biggest fear. I said, if you lost your arm, it would have been tragic, but very finalizing. Okay, now you can't use your arm. You'll be using this arm. Oh, it's really sad. Oh, it's terrible. Okay, and you get over it, and we accept it because it's so matter of fact. It's still very much here in this three-dimensional reality where you can see it. Yeah, it's tragic, it's horrifying, it's a life adjustment, but it's very finalizing. I said, you went to a place that's very frightening for people. And also, you live in a codependent world. So everyone wants to know who they're supposed to be around you. So who am I supposed to be? I'm used to being around you when you were you. Like, where'd you go? Where did you go? And I told her, I said, listen, it's going to happen again. I said, and this time when it does, you tell everyone to back off. I said, go home and keep this feeling going. Your head's not going to fly off. You know there's no physiological ground here. You went to the hospital already. I said, this anxiety is actually a messenger. Something in your life isn't right. Something needs to be changed, shifted. Your attitude, your job, something is not right. And part of you, your higher self, is saying, screaming, I can't do this. I have to do something else. I have to make a change. I have to make a shift. I said, this anxiety isn't a disease or there's nothing wrong with you. It's actually a messenger that's bringing you something. I said, so keep the feeling going. Don't worry, your head's not going to fly off, and you'll make it home. I told her that so she wouldn't have a meltdown on the highway. I said, and when you get home, draw a bath, put a piece of paper out on your desk, your table, whatever, with a pen, pencil, whatever, and do whatever you do to relax, and get in the bathtub with that feeling going, and be really honest with yourself, and really connect with that feeling and ask yourself, why am I feeling this? What's wrong in my life? What's happening? What do I need to see that I'm not seeing, but that somehow my body's feeling and letting me know through another means? About 8 months later, I wondered how she was doing, okay? I don't pester, I'm calling after people, 8 months later, she comes back in. She was beaming, literally. And then this lady was a marathon runner. She's a healthy person, okay? It takes a lot to run 26 miles. And she comes in, this time she's beaming. She looks bright. And I said, well, I was just taken back, because I'd seen her the last time, and I was taken back. And I said, wow, you look great. And she said, I feel great. She said, everything happened exactly like you said. 3 days later, I had another one of those attacks. She said, I actually put my hand up and told her to back off. And I went home and did what you said. And what I came to realize was that all my life I've been an administrator. She was in her 50s. And she said, but I really wanted to do something like you do, like massage or occupational therapy or physical therapy. And so she had quit her job. Her husband was supporting her in the transition. And she had already been in about 7-8 months of a program pursuing her new career, which was occupational therapy. And within about a year and a half of that, I happened to see her and her husband at a function in a town nearby, and they came over to me, and she was beaming from ear to ear, and she just stood there, and she said, Paul, guess what? I'm in my chosen profession now. And she was very, very happy. Now, I'm just going to say this to you. If we as a society would have given her psychotropic drugs at that point, go for that comfort zone, make everything okay, fit in, don't go anywhere else. No, stay in this little parameter. Maybe her tail would went between her legs, maybe she'd be dissatisfied, maybe her energy level would go down, maybe her serotonin levels would go down, maybe she'd be depressed. Who knows what could have happened? But instead, some crazy guy said, oh no, there's nothing wrong with you. Anxiety's your friend. It's bringing you a message. Something needs to be looked at. And that's why this is happening. There's nothing wrong with you. And I'm not the only person to be saying this. There are other people talking this talk. I've listened and heard. And many years ago, I shared this information, what I was understanding with a person, and this person said to me, oh, you must have read Rumi. And I said, no, I've never read Rumi. And she said, well, he was a 12th century poet. And he said, my friend, when fear, anger, shame, grief over your past, when these strangers come to visit you, meaning coming into your awareness, your consciousness, coming into your feeling body, he says, don't turn them away. They've come to free you. That's why those things are happening. It's a reminder of the debris that's there and might need to be looked at. And on one occasion, I had a psychotherapist in my office. I had seen her several times before, and she comes in and she looked very distressed, and I said, how are you doing? She said, well, I'm having a lot of anxiety. And all of a sudden, she felt the safety and comfort of my room and of my space and with me, and she said to me, I'm having one right now. And all of a sudden, there it went. She was weeping and weeping and weeping, and really in the throes of this anxiety, just coming out of her body, coming out of her body. And I have a knack for being the fly on the wall, because when a person's having an experience like that, you want them to experience that release to its fullness. You don't want to interrupt or get in the way. And so I basically put my hand on her chest, on her thoracic spine, and just let her do what she was doing. It's none of my business. Whatever's happening is happening. And then I felt her calming, had my hand on her abdomen and her low back. Next thing you know, she's breathing into her body, and she's okay. I moved away from her, and I said, listen, people are going to come to you sincerely in need of help. And up until now, you would have been just giving them some information out of a book. Now you can look at them and say, oh yeah, it turned white, oh my God, I know, and so on and so forth. You would have won them over, and your work would be more effective because of it, because of your experience. I knew a gentleman who was a shaman from Lakota, from Dakotas there, a Lakota shaman, and he came from Vietnam. He suffered from post-traumatic stress. And what does he do? He works with people with post-traumatic stress. Oh, I think I know where the huckleberries are. Yeah, I've read. I kind of had an idea. Someone said, and then there's another person that says, no, I've been there. I can take you there. And so what I want to tell you is that being okay is, first of all, overrated, okay? When we're going through experiences, when we're going through upheavals, when we're going through things, we're being worked on so that we can move forward and grow. And that's what change is all about. And so now I'm going to just give you a few tips. I know that some people need to be on medication, okay? Some people need to be on heavier medication. Some people need therapy also. Some people need to be restrained, okay? I mean, whatever is needed, okay? I'm not dissing drugs or therapy or any of that, okay? I'm suggesting that we need to look at anxiety in a different way so that we can work with it and become better people and realize it's not our enemy. Okay, and we don't want to squelch it and just be okay. Is that what you want to be, okay? Or do you want to be real? Do you want to be the real you? And so I'm going to go through some levels of anxiety, okay? And I'm going to give you little tips on how to cope with the symptoms, okay? Because while you're processing, you want to be able to be functional, okay? And no one knows, if you're feeling anxiety, no one really knows it, okay? They can't tell, they can't tell. Unless you're having a meltdown, no one really knows what's going on in your head. And you could be processing and still go to work, still function, go to the supermarket, and do all the things you need to do. But these symptoms are sometimes overwhelming. And I want to take you through a list of ways to work with these symptoms, okay? So first of all, level one, okay? You feel a little angst. Maybe you're going to do a presentation. Maybe it's your first week on the job and you never drove the forklift yet, except for some practice, and your boss is going to be there and you're freaking out a little bit. Maybe you had an extra cup of coffee, whatever the case may be. Low-level anxiety, really just not even an angst. Okay, everybody just does this anyway. Take a breath. Talk to yourself. Hey, it's going to be okay. I know how to drive that forklift. Oh, I've done these presentations before. Oh, I'll be okay. And, I know my material. I've practiced, whatever. And you're okay, and that's where it ends. The next level would be where the breathing starts to become affected, where you start to come up into this part of your body. You're not grounded anymore, and you're getting to that point where you want to ground yourself. Okay, so for this exercise regarding this level of symptom, I'm going to teach you how to belly breathe, and I'll show you that now. Okay, I'm calling it belly breathing, but the Chinese would call it breathing into the dantian. The Japanese call it the hara. So when you feel your energy building up and you're coming into that place and you're feeling that little bit of anxiety happening and it's affecting your breath, it's starting to affect the pectoral carriage, starting to affect the breath. Okay, you want to bring everything back down so you can feel grounded again. You don't want to start being like where you're out of your feet. You want to be grounded, okay? And so this is a great way to do this. It's also a good way to wake up in the morning. You sit on the end of your bed and practice this before you start running into the day, okay? And so basically, what I'm going to show you is the placement of this, okay? if you put your finger in your belly button and you took 4 of your fingers and stacked them underneath your finger, index finger, where your pinky finger would be the area of the dantian, is your center point. And what you can do is put your left hand over that point, your right hand over that point, or you can put these 2 fingers there, or whatever you feel comfortable with, okay? But the point is your focus is going to be there and your hands are going to be there. And now, instead of breathing into the lungs, okay, we're going to forget that there isn't even any such thing as breath. And what you're going to feel is a cord, a silver cord, that's being pulled down to that point as you breathe in, and silently breathe out. And just connect to that place and breathe. So feel like this is a bellows. So rather than the lungs breathing, oxygen, carbon dioxide, no, this is actually drawing this energy, and there's this strand of energy that's pulling, okay, the essence of your breath. It's pulling your breath in and out. And feel your stomach open. Feel the energy go down there and feel it come out your nose. Come in and out. And this way, instead of stacking here like that, it's coming in, and your body will respond, and your breath will be able to calm your body down. The Ayurvedics say, okay, I know your mind is strong, okay, but the Ayurvedics say the mind controls the body, okay, but the breath controls the mind. And you have to make that transition, and it takes practice, because it's easy to go, oh my God, I figured out, here I am, I'm going to go, and that pivotal point where it can just go south on you, and then maybe you feel like you got run over by a train all day long. There's that fork in the road, and it takes practice. It takes practice to say no. And these tools might help you, and I'm going to continue with some more here. So the next tip I'd like to offer you is actually something that I learned from a psychotherapist. It's very simple, and you might not even think this would be have any relevance, but here's a prop. Here I have. I'm not going to drink a glass of water right now in front of you, but I would just say that if you drank 6 to 8 ounces of water, if you just stop and drink it out of a glass, don't gulp so fast that you choke on it, but don't stop drinking. So just go until it's done. Okay, drink the whole glass. It has an effect on the parasympathetic nervous system. That's your overriding system. So like you can't hold your breath because it would say, oh no, it wouldn't let you do that. You wouldn't let you kill yourself by holding your breath. It's the override, I just think of it as the overriding aspect of our system. And when you drink water like that, it stimulates it for some reason, whatever that is, it triggers it, and it brings a feeling of relaxation into you. And so you might consider trying that at home. Just try it and see how it works for you. It's a very mild intervention, but it has its place. And of course you have to be near water. So anyway, good luck with that one. So next I would like to talk about the hormonal feeling that starts to happen when you go a little bit past that breathing difficulty. I know I'm slicing it up, but that point where you feel almost like you're maybe a light sweat or armpits getting sweaty, where it's physical, where the hormones are actually engaging, the cortisol levels are going up, and it's getting a little edgy, and you can feel it in your body. Okay, it's not just a breath thing now, it's actually maybe your hands numb or fingers are numb or something like that. Okay, now I learned this technique from a woman who went to medical school at age 14 and graduated at 19. She's world known. She speaks at universities about the brain and the science of the brain. And this is a tip when you feel like things have just gotten out of whack and you really know you have to lower your cortisol levels down, you got to lower your stress down. Place your both hands like this against each other. And a lot of people do this intuitively, okay? Just put your fingertips together like this in front of your chest and hold there. Could take a minute or two. It'll probably happen sooner. You'll feel the heat in your fingertips increase. It could increase 3 or 4 degrees. When this happens, it has immediate reaction and an effect on the cortisol levels and starts dropping them down. And it really works. And like I said, a lot of people do this intuitively. I'll talk about tapping really briefly. Let's say it's getting to the point where, oh, now I'm just really having a hard time here, and oh, what's happening? And oh, let me come back. You just want to come back. Maybe you can't even breathe or do any of that, okay? You just need something more direct, okay? There are books on tapping, and by now people have heard about tapping, and it's good for post-traumatic stress and so on and so forth. And I'm just going to show you a version that I would practice on my own. And I would encourage you to get a book on this or look online and delve into it a little more deeply, okay? But this works for me, okay? I just put my hand here, okay? My fingers here, and then I just tap, okay? Okay, just tap. And then like that, okay? Another version of hand work to affect the physiology is to actually put your hands here right where the ribs end and you feel the stomach begin. Have your hands here and hold them like that, and that will also give you some measure of grounding, okay? And so once you've tapped and you feel like you're grounded enough to stop breathing, then go ahead and breathe so you can bring yourself back down, okay? So you don't go to that other place. Now I want to talk about a technique that's very effective. It's a breathing technique. I learned this from a psychotherapist. I went to a class in stress reduction for some continuing education credits. Interesting thing, he said to the people who were predominantly psychotherapists in the audience, in the classroom, and he said to them that their patients would be telling their massage therapist things that they wouldn't tell them. I thought that was rather humorous, and I can attest that that's probably true. But I did learn something very effective I want to pass on to you, and that is the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Just remember 4-7-8. So what you do is you inhale on the count of 4, hold for the count of 7, and exhale the count of 8. By the time I do that twice, I'm like mellow. I'm breathing, and wow, what an effect that it has upon us. Okay, now you're home, you're not out in public, no one sees you, okay, and you're really having a hard time, okay, and you're feeling all these feelings, you're getting in touch with all these feelings, okay, you're not pushing them away, they're really there, okay. Crying is incredible for release, so is screaming, okay. And I just want to say that the Ayurvedics say that there's 3 types of tears. The first tears come from the center of the eye, which are deep grief, sadness. The ones from the middle of the eye are anger. You ever get so angry that you're not sad, you're mad, and you're crying, but you're crying from here. You're so mad that tears of anger, okay, rage. And you're happy, it's a beautiful day, someone's getting married, a baby, and tears out of the sides of your eyes are happy, joy tears. There's different kind of tears, okay? But it's a great release. It's a great way to just pressure relief valve, let it go. You're not a pressure cooker without a valve. You've got a valve, and crying will help. Okay, so will screaming. I want to say one thing about us men, and that is that women have many avenues of expression for their emotions. First of all, they're in touch with many avenues of their feelings, and they're also in touch with an ability to express them. We, because of our indoctrination into this world, maybe have only 2 or 3 channels through which to vent or to channel our emotions, okay? And one of them is anger, okay? The other one is just shutting down. Another word for that is pouting or being sad or depressed. So we don't have all those avenues in which to express ourselves, and so crying could be a difficult thing, okay? Get yourself a punching bag and have it in a private place where you just go to town on it, and maybe that's how you're going to come in touch with your feelings, or maybe that's how you'll express them in a healthy way that doesn't hurt other people emotionally or physically, okay? But I just want you to be aware of the fact that sometimes that's the best way to release, okay, is to have that time by yourself where you can just be honest, and sometimes you may be feeling a feeling in a place that might be inappropriate to express these feelings, so just hold on to them, keep it, and you'll get to where you have to go. The other thing I'm going to talk about is that ultimate facing of mano a mano, you and the Creator, or whatever you perceive that to be. Even if you're an atheist, there's still the woo, that energy that's there. And, in Forrest Gump, when Colonel Dan's is on the crow's nest, and he's just, he's done. There's a storm brewing, and it's going, and it's in full force, and these gale winds, and he's up there in the crow's nest, and he just had it, and this was his meeting with his creator, and he was screaming and just all of that frustration, his whole lineage of being warriors and all the things, and here he was screaming, and the next day, this peaceful day, he's swimming there, and Forrest Gump said, I think in his own way, Colonel Dan made his peace with God. And I think at some point, you have to level with whoever you perceive to be the creator. And in these times, it's also really valuable to acknowledge that there is a higher power, there is something that is for goodness, and that is for your good, and that ultimately that's where you're going. And when everything is dark and dismal and there's no hope, barely any hope, there's always some, that's a place to go so that you can be safe and not do anything that would harm you or cause you any grief or others grief. And so that's an important thing. Faith is an important thing. You have to be able to feel that it's going to be okay, okay? And I hope some of these techniques help you to get through the symptoms so you can actually lower the levels down and you can actually have some self-conversation and get somewhere, do some therapy, friends, talk to whoever you need to talk to, but get somewhere with it. Don't just leave it sit. The last thing I'm going to talk about is body work. This is really essential. And if you have post-traumatic stress, anxiety, I don't care what you have, okay, bipolar, this, all the names, okay? You feel it in your body. It isn't that you don't have post-traumatic stress in your head. Your body feels it. When something happens, it triggers it. All the hormones go, cortisol levels, everything goes. Maybe your hands get numb. It's a physiological, it's in your body, and it's through your body that your body's telling you that, oh yeah, we have a lot of stuff in here. Body work is a wonderful way to be able to address that, especially if you're going through a trauma, a traumatic time, a stressful time, you lost a loved one. It can be very therapeutic. And there's that, you can do all the therapy you want, read all the books you want, but sometimes you just let go and you feel okay. And sometimes that can happen in the context of body work, okay? And you want to be with someone that's going to be like the fly on the wall that allows you to process without interfering and who understands this process, because a lot of practitioners do understand this because it's happened to them in their practice. And the other thing I want to discuss real quickly is a practice of some kind. There needs to be a practice, whatever it is that you do, a routine that you physically do for your body to address all of that. Because your head can be here, you can be figuring out everything, but your body is honest, and it's going to express what's happening in your consciousness through this physical body. So you need to pay attention to your body and pay attention to what you're eating, because maybe some of the foods you're eating are causing you this additional stress, this difficulty, okay? And so the last thing I want to just say is that being okay is way overrated, okay? Sometimes when I'm not okay, are you okay? Okay, Paul? Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm growing. Something's happening in my life. More of this ego is getting burned away. Yeah, it hurts, but I'm going to be better for it, okay? So don't worry about me. Be happy for me. I'm in a growth phase now. Okay, the waves go up and down. The water doesn't stay placid all the time. Okay, and it's okay. It's just important to understand how to work with it. And the last thing I want to just say is that in our effort to be okay, sometimes we become goal-oriented instead of process-oriented. And your goal could be, I want to get over having anxiety. But maybe you need to work with it for a while, and maybe that's the process. And if you fight it, it's going to keep on reoccurring. It's going to keep on resurfacing. When you start to work with it, something changes. Something clearly changes. One woman had some body work. She was a good Christian lady, and never swore in her life, and she was getting a massage. And in the middle of the massage, she starts swearing, F and this and that and so on. And afterwards, she says, I've never sworn before in my life, but I feel so good. And something was in it that needed to come out. That's a kind of a funny example, but, you have to consider that it's also in your body, okay? It really is in your body. I'm a body worker, and I know that. And from my own honest experience of life, I know that. So please, don't negate the body. You could be getting therapy or taking psychotropic drugs or doing whatever it is you're doing, but you need to do something for your body, okay? You need to move. If you can't stand, you can sit and move. You can do Qigong in a chair, okay? So there are many ways to work with your body, but I want you to include your body in this paradigm, into this process of wellness, okay? And so anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope this helped you. Check out my videos, Paul Odian, Odian, on YouTube. Thank you.